Welcome to Horror Movies with TNA. Each episode, we're going to pick a film, talk about it, and rate it. Word of warning, there will be spoilers. This week, we're talking about... According to highly accurate information on the web, if Indiana Jones wasn't a fictional archaeologist, his favourite horror film would probably be Manhattan Baby, or Dawn of the Mum, or probably Exorcist. Anyway, Lucio Fulci is a man who's given us zombies, giallo, slasher pics, police dramas, the list goes on. And now he turns his hand to Egyptian curses. Sit back, lift up your eye patches and watch horror, Fulci style.
Yeah.
If that goes off one, there's some go old. What film did we do here?
What film is that?
Actually, that is not that shit.
Oh,
That's
well,
that
I'll take that. Wasn't that the Zombie Head House of the Dead? The Zombie Head House of the Dead.
Yeah. Anyway, look, should we get on with it, I guess? Yeah. Well, I'm guessing the sound would be better for the listeners if they couldn't hear a fucking...
Well, it's the second time in lockdown, so we're back on Zoom, aren't we? So.
Oh, yeah. So if anyone moans about the sound...
So instead of the quality being average, it's slightly worse than average this time.
No, it's probably better because I couldn't quite make out what you were saying most of the time. Superb.
Well,
Superb. Lots better than normal. I couldn't hear you. We enjoyed it when we watched it, didn't we?
yeah.
Well, hey. Ooh.
Is that... No, but I mean,
it's a herd indication.
No,
Oh, I've got another drawing here. I mean, it looks rude, but it's not someone shoving a hand out of a orifice. It's a bit through the wall.
Oh, is that Jamie Lee's arm? I mean, none of it, mate.
Oh, hey, oh. And I'm showing it all too soon here.
Oh, yeah, you're revealing it all.
Look at that. That's perfect. That's the end bit.
That's the absolute bare minimum number of lines in which to depict something. It's just, it looks like
the bit. Have you seen the bird killing bit at the end? You ready for this? Do
you know what? I didn't draw that. Yeah, go on.
Neither did I.
What
Is it there?
That?
Oh,
you need to go the opposite way. Have you tried to rub your belly and tap your head at the same time? That looks like. Oh yeah, I can.
Look, he's putting his hands up.
That's good.
As I was drawing it, I went, that doesn't even make sense. And I was fully sober.
Well, it perfectly matches the film again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I drew, mine's not so good when I drew Funny Man Luke. That picture didn't come out so well. Can you see Funny Man Luke? Abracadabra.
Hang on.
That can't be wrong.
Have we started? Because there's been about 5 minutes of just showing pictures. You fucking useless shit. How do we normally start these things?
We don't. Eventually, we get bored, and then I say,
right,
we're talking about Manhattan Baby from 1982, a film by Lucio Fulci. I'm not going to talk loads about him today. I know you loved it when I talked at length about Dario Argento. All I'm going to say is, in the timeline of his films, this came somewhere in between House by the Cemetery and the Beyond, then New York Ripper, then it was Manhattan Baby, and then he did...
Yeah, it's weird that it's in between all that, because all of the rest are incredibly gory films.
And then he did Conquest, which I'm assuming is like one of those Bronx Warrior 83. That was one of those. Yeah.
Bronx Warrior is a great film.
We were going to do Lucio Fulci's Contraband, which we'll still have to do. That's on Amazon, isn't it? But, we dived in and did. Yeah, we dived in and did this one instead. So
it's also called Eye of the Evil Dead.
Yes, it is. Yes, Eye of the Evil Dead.
That's it. That's the amount of information you're going to get from me.
I suppose it's worth mentioning Fabio Frizzi did the music, and it does sound very similar to like Zombie Flesh Eaters, The Beyond, and City of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I was disappointed by the music because it was quite annoying. Other ones, and I went, yeah, too much.
But the only other bit is when it shows clips of like the streets of Manhattan, it has that awful like saxophone music playing every time, and that's dirge. That's terrible.
Yes. And I kept doing the Cagney and Lacey music with my mouth because I am very good, accomplished saxophonist with me gob. Are you ready? Fuck it.
It's almost. I won't know. Why would I need to change that? That's almost spot on. I've got to be honest. I looked through all the cast. Tommy Hacker, the son, was in House by the Cemetery and Demons as well.
Yeah.
Professor George Hacker, the dad, Christopher Connolly. He's just been in a shed load of 80s TV. Matt Houston, Fall Guy, he was in everything, basically. Jamie Lee, the au pair, the only thing is she was in New York Ripper. Probably is one of the victims, I would imagine. But yeah, she was in New York Ripper. And that was about it, really. Couldn't see anything else.
Yeah. Anyway.
We're in Egypt. It starts in Egypt. And we did say when we watched this, it looks like Lucio blew all his money in the first 10 minutes shooting it in Egypt. But we start off...
You read something about this as well, that he had a big budget. So this was going to be one of his big budget films. And then they pulled out at the last moment.
Yes, I think he ran out of money halfway through. The Hacker family, Professor George Hacker, that's him, his wife Emily, and their daughter Susie. Tom is back at home with the au pair. But George Hacker is doing a dig in Egypt. While he's doing that dig, Emily and the daughter are out sightseeing and taking photos around Egypt. Because Emily, the wife, works for a magazine back in Manhattan. Actually, this is right near the beginning. We haven't really met George so much at the moment, although he's picked up a scorpion off the desert to give his daughter as a gift. It's a bit of a weird present. That's a live scorpion. That's a bit odd.
Yeah, I know.
And the guy with him says that's a symbol of death. Susie seems to have got... Already the daughter seemed to, even before any of this happened, she seems to go into a trance at one point. She stood with a photo being taken with sand running through her fingers. And her mum kind of asks her, are you all right? And she's a bit zonked out. I didn't really understand that because nothing's happened yet. She's already under the spell of Egypt or something. Look, I don't know. It just seemed a bit hard for me.
Oh, so I'm looking at my notes now thinking, did something happen at the beginning?
No, not a terrible amount, to be honest.
Like I say, at the beginning, you can see they spent some money because they actually are in Egypt and almost like a travelogue of, that's a pyramid. We're in the desert.
I mean, the films are based around Egyptian curses, so there's a lot of sand and there's a lot...
Tiramisu.
Precisely. George has gone off to a dig at some tomb, which is Habanumina, the tomb of Habanumina.
Habanumina.
As usual, I had subtitles on. Habanumina. Habanumina.
No, that just sounds like you just...
Habanumina.
Habanumina.
They say it quite a lot, and I had the subtitles on, and it was definitely Habanumina. 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 George is off on the dig, and while that's happening...
Have we mentioned that he's an archaeologist, by the way?
Yes, Professor George Hacker. He's off at the dig, and while he's doing that, Emily and Susie are in the local town sightseeing and taking photos. At one point, Emily leaves Susie, saying she'll be right back, and it's then that Susie meets the old crone who's got fulgy white eyes. He likes a bit of white eye.
He loves the white eyes, though. Or they're chalky, aren't they? The chalky white. He likes that kind of look.
When we first see the lady who's peddling trinkets and whatnot, Tat, that's the first time we hear a bit of the Fritzy music coming through as Susie turns to see this old lady behind her.
Peddling Tat's a great rock band.
Peddling Tat.
Actually, it's more folk music they do, wouldn't it? I've had too much to drink, haven't I?
Again, Susie goes into a bit of a trance. She hands over some money to the old lady before she even knows what she's paying for. And the crone grabs her hand and then lets go, but leaves what can only be described as a talisman.
Yeah, it's quite a large talisman, isn't it? It's not a tiny trinket.
It's big. And then there's a bit of a far-off shot from above with Fritzy music playing as the old woman vanishes.
I tell you what, it's consummate.
So the mystery begins.
Yes. It's classic Fulci.
He knows how to weave a story, doesn't he?
Well, sound like we're taking the piss out of him, and we both like him. But he's...
His storytelling's quite ham-fisted, isn't it? But it's good. It's good fun, though.
Yeah. He's not shit, though.
We're back at the dig with George. Some large stones being removed that's got some kind of inscriptions on it. He gets a warning at this point that things like these should be left well alone.
Is this from Abadubada?
Yeah, no, one of the other guys says that. I don't know who he is, to be honest. And as the professor studies the inscription, which is being cleaned, somebody says, this holds the secret that has stymied cryptologists for years. I like that because I've never heard of the word stymied before, which is hindered.
Well, I have, but what does it mean again?
Hindered.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, stalled, hindered progress. I mean, you learn something new every... God,
Right, listen,
Jesus.
and this is when they first mention the name Abanumna. When you plug it into
Abadubada.
Jeeves, you don't get anything back. The only thing you get back is Manhattan Baby. Yeah.
I mean, is anyone other than you using Jeeves?
My mate Jeeves asking me, he's a right know-it-all. He knows everything.
Why are you plugging... you literally plugging him with a word right up there. Jeeves, bend over. I'm plugging you with Abadubada.
Well,
Not again, sir.
insult source material.
Oh, baby.
So straight away, you know that this film is all about Egyptian curses and all that kind of thing. So you're right into it then. You're gripped. Tell me you were gripped. You're gripped.
I was gripping myself. Oh,
George
sorry,
doesn't heed the warnings and he enters the tomb with his mate Hassan.
Yeah, this bit I thought was a bit Raiders.
Yeah,
because it's around about the same
it's like
time.
exploring.
Literally, it's the thing. 82.
Yes. So they go down into the tomb, and there's this kind of really some kind of terrible snake thing on the wall that he spots, and he moves it very slightly, just a tiny movement. He like turns it anti-clockwise, and it reveals a secret door.
If you ever go to Egypt, don't touch fuck all, because I tell you what, you'll be through a trap door. It's all going to be happening.
They go into a room, and a snake is fired into the room through a hole in the wall as well, like thrown through.
Yeah, because they have snakes kept.
The thing is, they get preserved, don't they, in the walls of the pyramids and tombs.
I believe that's the truth, yes.
One thing that's common to Fulci films is he doesn't know what animals sound like, does he? He seems to not have ever heard a living animal.
Oh, does this make shriek noise or something?
Well, it makes like a hissing sound, but it definitely sounds like, instead of just recording a snake, it sounds kind of like somebody sing like a snake.
Is it someone letting a radiator out when it's got air in it?
It's something that sounds vaguely snakish. Let's leave it at that.
Is there a bit in the Beyond where there's spiders?
I think I made a note.
Go on, sorry.
City of the Living Dead had monkeys. The Beyond has clicking spiders.
I like that. I like them to sound wrong.
Oh, well, yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah, so the cobra gets fired through the wall. Not very good, though, because Hassan shoots it in the face. It looks like it is actually a snake.
80s and 70s, even in mainstream films, quite a lot of
More cruelty. Well, not even animal cruelty, animal death.
Apocalypse Now, the worst bit. But there's a bit where they hatchet a cow's head off. Not great.
I'm assuming in films like Cannibal Holocaust, the animal cruelty is cut out, but Apocalypse Now, he's allowed to get away with it.
I know, and that's bullshit, really. I know, not that I'm keen on any animal cruelty, but
Take it up with the censors.
I know, I'm saying one rule for everyone. Get fucked.
Yes, absolutely. I'd rather not see it at all, to be honest.
Yes.
George and Hassan head down into the tomb and they're attempting to open a door, and it's at that point that the pit opens beneath them and they both fall in. This is where Hassan gets spiked. So this is the first bit of Fulci gore violence, which was quite a good bit, I thought.
Yeah, well, it's probably the first, and I would say major bit, really, because the rest of it, there's bits of gore.
Yeah.
So there's a spiked pit, which is old school, what happens in Egyptian tombs, I believe.
Trap, innit?
Yeah. Sam skids down it, face first. So it goes through his eye and his face, but it's really a quick cut, but it's still pretty grim.
Which works well. Yeah, it works well, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you see that it goes all in.
It's all in.
And also it's a good effect to spike a bit.
Yeah, George, well, he gets up after he's fallen down the pit and he wanders around the tomb. And this is where he gets lasered in both his eyes. The effects are startlingly good, but good.
You just off the cuff said he gets lasered in the eyes.
Well, he does, yes.
When we say he gets lasered in the eyes, there's like animated blue dots sort of go pew, 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 pew.
It's a very cheap kind of rip-off of Star Wars.
I mean, it's not even Star Wars. I'm trying to think what it...
But I kind of
like
liked
Mighty
it, to be
Mouse.
honest.
I don't, I don't know what it's fucking crap. I mean, there's a GIF of it as well, which I'll obviously put on Twitter for everyone to enjoy. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, it's difficult to explain. It's like a kid's kind of...
If you were trying to have a go for 2 minutes to come up with a laser effect, you'd do better. But it's endearing, isn't it? Mm.
Yes, well, it is. And George then stumbles blindly out of the tomb. I'm not sure how he manages to get in his blind state. I don't want to try and question the logic of this. Back out of the pit and stumbles out onto the desert out of the tomb.
It's all down to abba-dubba-dabba-dubba-dubs.
Yeah, Abanumna. Professor George Hacker's been blinded, and Susie's been gifted this talisman-y thing from this crone, and that's the end of the scenes in Egypt.
It's almost the end of the prologue.
That's where we are with that.
You could compare it to the classic The Exorcist if you were a twat.
There is actually a comparison later on.
I
don't want to...
Oh yeah, well it rips off from everywhere, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it grabs a little bit of everything.
And who doesn't?
14 minutes in, we then switch from Egypt to Manhattan, hence the name of the film.
Copyright reasons, I would have to stop.
I don't think anybody will recognise that fucker for copyright reasons. Professor Georgie boys at the optologist having his eyes looked at. The prognosis is, in a year or so, you'll get your sight back. I mean...
Year or so? For me? When is it again, mate? A year or so. It might be 2 years. Chill out. What?
It's only your eyesight. This is the first time we get to see George with his iPads on.
The weirdest thing you'll ever see in a fucking film.
So this is George Hacker with pads over his eyes, because obviously he's got injured eyes, but then he's got big glasses over the top of them. And again, it's something you can read whenever you search for Manhattan Baby. I think it comes up with this image quite a lot, which is delightful. It's quite funny.
I don't understand. So it's got like big pad blinded, so they put pads on his eye. But then he's gone, I tell you what, why don't you put your big glasses that you normally wear over the top of them? Why would I do that?
It still looks good. I love it.
I know.
The children, Susie and Tommy, are at the park with Jamie Lee, the au pair. I only mention this because it's a bit of a pointless scene, but at one point they get into a bit of an argument because Susie's making fun of Tommy's baseball skills, and Tommy turns to her and says, I wasn't asking you, you lousy lesbian. And then Susie modestly says, I'm an excellent player and this makes men furious, which is true.
Have we explained how old the kids are, by the way?
She's 9 and he's younger. When she says, I'm an excellent player and this makes men furious, I put true. These kids were rarely tolerable in any scene in the film. Basically, I found them quite irritating.
Well, I was all right with them.
And then Tommy says screw her about her sister as well, so they're both potty mouth little devils, aren't they?
Little shits.
And then they head back to the apartment. There's a few passing mentions to the talisman that Susie continues to wear hanging around her neck. Is the kind of the main key thing throughout the film.
Yes, it is, and it fucking isn't.
If there isn't really a story, so I don't know. There's themes running through it, and then there's I don't know.
I mean, you're giving it a lot more kudos than it needs. I mean, there's themes running through it, is it?
Well, maybe not. That's probably one of the criticisms that...
Because there really isn't one.
Well, as always, all I am literally doing is going through it scene by scene, and if somehow there seems to be a plot in there, then so be it.
Yeah.
We join Emily at the magazine. This is where we first meet comedian Luke, funny man Luke. Luke.
What a twat.
What a twat. At work, have you ever worn glasses with springy eyeballs on them?
Yes.
Okay, well, check.
Seriously, someone bought me some. I know. You should wear these because you're that much of a dickhead.
You are cunty Luke. There's nothing in that scene. It just introduces her at work, and it introduces that Luke character who comes back. He comes back brilliantly later on. Isn't he great? Tommy, Susie, and the au pair back at the apartment. Susie, she has a premonition that there's going to be lightning and thunder, and within 30 seconds, there's some animated lightning streaking across the sky. So it's all kind of supernatural and eerie. She then wakes up and is scared and wants to sleep with her parents, but they say no. And she wanders off and gets a fright when she sees some scary Egyptian shit and then faints. So there's a little bit there where it starts to build on the fact that it's all going kooky.
Yeah, she's brought a bit of Egypt back with her.
Yes. Oh, I like this bit. Listen to this. 26 minutes in, Professor George is recording his theories about the tomb of being evil.
With his glasses and pads on.
And he's got his recorder going. What do you call them ones?
Two real recorders, aren't they?
Real recorder. Like there's a bit where he's recording his theories about the curses and the tombs and Susie, under the influence of the talisman, laser blue eyes the recording so that when the professor replays it, the recording is nothing but some people screaming and speaking in an evil tongue when he plays it back, which I thought was quite good. I'm on my own, obviously, but I know there were guys out there who think it was...
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I thought that was...
Well, no, I didn't really pick up on that, because while he was recording it... Well, I didn't obviously listen to the subtitles. That makes no sense. I just thought he was doing it, and then he heard upstairs that they were all screaming.
Oh, no. What happens then is Susie turns and sees that Tommy's in like a trance-like state, and he trudges towards a glowing door, and then pop.
Yeah, it's pure white door, and then he disappears.
They talk later on about how they go on a voyage or something, but he's gone. He's gone.
It's never elaborated on, and it makes fuck all sense.
These scenes sound like we're just talking about them randomly, but I'm actually talking about it scene by scene. It's random.
Because the film is fucking mental.
Yeah. There's a bit of a scene where George obviously hears a commotion and he scrabbles around the apartment blindly, fingering his way through each room.
Oh, Christ.
It's surprisingly intense.
Oh, Christ.
Oh, and then he goes into a room and... because obviously Tommy's disappeared.
This is fabulous. I rewound this a few times. It's brilliant. The acting.
He's just feeling his way around the apartment, isn't he?
So, yes, well, he's heard all this screaming and that, and he goes wandering around there. And then it was almost like Fulci watched the acting of Christopher Connolly and went, what the fuck is he doing? What am I going to do with this footage? And there's some writing on the mirror.
The writing on the mirror says, "Daddy, help me."
And then he gets toward the doorway and then falls backward. And if there wasn't for the effects of the great blue laser eyes and him going, my eyes, you just think he's just fallen over. But that must have been
intended because the story is he then gets his eyesight back.
Hey, yes, well. So he's acting.
Christopher Connolly.
He wanders in, does his act, then gets to the door. You know, you've gone, oh no, I can't find my son. But what Christopher Connolly's done is gets near the door and goes, oh, I can't cope, and grabs his eyes and falls backwards. Fulci goes, fuck's sake, what's he doing? Overacting, and Fulci's gone, tell you what, I put some sweet blue laser eyes straight into that twat's face. But then again, now you've said it, your argument is, well, he gets his sight back almost immediately. I tell you what, let's put some blue lasers here, because I haven't explained why he gets his sight back or why he falls over and overacts like an absolute twat.
The optometrist could have just said your eyesight will come back in 3 days, not fucking a year and a half. So I put, you'll like this. One laser, you go blind. Yeah, you'll like this.
Not a lot.
One laser, you go blind. 2 lasers, he can see. He obviously had laser eye treatment. Laser eye treatment. His eyesight came back, yeah.
Laser eye treatment.
Get fucked.
I don't know. Professor decides now he's got his eyesight. He's going to go back to work. This is the thing with the film. The kids disappear and then they reappear. Nobody seems bothered. It's only when it's explained later that they go on these voyages or something that we understand that they go away for a
but
bit.
it's bullshit.
Yes, yeah, because
it's absolute
suddenly
bullshit.
they're gone, then they come back.
His films are never that coherent anyway. But I think in this particular case, there's like gaps, isn't there? There's like chunks
gaps
missing.
Back at the apartment. Hang on, let me just. George is talking to his associate, and they're talking about the sacred symbol of the Grand Shadow. They talk about a god named Habanuna, who's a god of tremendous cruelty and utter evil. So we know he's not good news.
No, it sounds a bit of a git.
Yes, he doesn't sound good. The au pair, Jamie Lee, Susie and Tommy are back at the apartment playing hide and seek. The lights go out, and Jamie Lee gets flustered as she starts to hear terrible false snake noises. At that point, she calls for the security guard. Jamie Lee, the au pair, calls for the security because she's worried, and the security guard, unwillingly, he looks like he can't be bothered, to be honest, goes up in the lift.
I know, and this bit's mental as well. It's mental, but we're both agreeing.
Oh,
it's ace.
It's a beautiful scene, and the lift starts to malfunction.
You know he's going to get killed.
Yeah, instantly.
Well, you know he's going to get killed because he's superfluous to the entire thing. You've never met him before.
You know straight away he's expendable. Yeah. He's dead. Straight away, dead.
You get the general feeling as he's going up the lift, it's going to turn to shit. But it does it in the weirdest way you'd imagine.
I thought maybe he was going to get crushed in the door, or maybe the lift rope was going to snap, but I didn't expect the floor to fall out of the lift.
The worst bit, I don't like the fingernail breaking bit. He tries to open up the doors and his fingernail starts break. But then, everything starts wobbling. And then the next thing you know, the floor just disappears, doesn't it? And it doesn't break away. It just kind of...
It just drops.
Yeah. It's a bit of a shitty effect, if we're being honest. It's interesting.
I mean, again, it comes back to my major complaint about the film, that he drops and nothing happens then, does it? He just switches away from that. So you just hear him screaming as he falls. The floor's gone, and that's it, and then we're on to the next scene.
For anyone that's a Fulci fan, generally it's shit.
Again, there's opportunities to have a little bit of Fulci gore in there, and it didn't deliver.
No, I quite liked it because it was unexpected, just because it was a bit weird.
But the fact is, there ain't enough gore in this film. That's my problem with this film.
Go around.
I'm not normally that bothered, but it delivers very little in that department. Right, now we're about 40 minutes in. This is where they're complaining because they can't get the one of the children's bedroom doors open. So they ring up their mum, Emily, at work. Emily asks Funny Man to head back to the apartment as the au pair has phoned her saying the kid's door won't open. In walks Emily and Luke. I will open it with one of my magic tricks. Now, I've got every line written here.
The bit that both annoyed it and we enjoyed it at the same time.
I loved it. It made me laugh.
So Luke is obviously a great
He's
guy.
a funny guy.
But he's playing up for the kids. And the kids obviously couldn't give less of a shit. I'll check upstairs for you while I do these funny voices and shit.
I will open it with one of my magic tricks. This is the door that can't open. So he starts off with, listen to this. Abracadabra. Hocus pocus. He says a lot of fucking hocus pocuses. Hocus pocus. Again, that's the second hocus pocus. Locus mocus. Where is the door? Brocus Dorcas. Then he says abracadabra again. Locus mocus. Then he says pocus pocus. Abracadabra. Locus cadabra. Open sesame. By that point, I'd had a fucking enough. It wasn't magic anymore. It was.
It repeated himself, the absolute twat.
I mean, if I had to do a Venn diagram, that twat's in the middle of it all.
But after all that, you have missed one thing out. So after Open Sesame, he goes, ah!
Yes. Because on Open Sesame, the door flies open. He screams, Luke's gone. And I put reasons to be cheerful. 1.
It's gone.
And what is left in his place is a whole lot of fucking sand all over the floor.
Do you get to see what happens to him almost immediately as well?
Yeah, I think it comes back to show where he ends up in a bit.
But again, I mean, it's a weird scene. Well, it's a shit scene. And as much as we enjoyed it, it was fucking terrible.
I like the idea that sand appears from nowhere. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get it wrong with sand in your bedroom. Yeah.
Emily goes into the room and finds sand covering the floor, and she lets it run through her fingers, and then we have these scorpions. Again, I wrote here ludicrous sounds. We're about halfway through the film now, actually. Jamie Lee, au pair, sees herself, because she suddenly sees her image, and then it turns into the stone block that was removed from the tomb at the beginning of the film, from the tomb of Hamanumina. And then she screams. And it sounds like I'm mentioning these things very randomly.
No, this is a film. It's random, like, scenes that are pegged together towards the end. The earlier bit, it's a story. Later, whatever.
Lucio sent it out in loads of different directions and then struggled to bring it back together again. Emily's not impressed with Luke because she thinks he's arsing around because he's an arse. So she's obviously saying, Luke, come on, stop messing around. And then it's the bit where it then shows him, which I kind of liked because it's like he'd just been dumped on the desert and he's dead. So I quite like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then we've got a reasonably good scene, haven't we, where at night it's got Susie asleep. And I mean, it all centres around Susie and the trauma from the Egyptian curse. She's sleeping and she can't sleep. And it's got that good shot, which I know you quite liked, showing her hand. So it's got her hand in the foreground. It's kind of quite a low angle across the duvet or the bed covering. And her hand's burning into the covering. It's quite a good shot, isn't it, I thought that's quite good. Yeah.
It's just a bit of a weird bit. I mean, it makes no fucking sense again. 3, 2, 1, go.
Now we have the kids with the au pair playing in the park, and Jamie Lee is photoing Susie. The photo doesn't develop properly. I think it's one of these Insta camera things. And they drop the photo on the floor when they leave the park, but it's picked up by a mysterious woman. We don't know who she is. She picks this photo up. And as the camera focuses on the photo, it develops, and all that's in the shot is the Egyptian talisman. Again, it makes no sense, but it's kind of an all right bit.
It makes no sense, but it makes a bit of sense later on because that woman gives it to
Adrian Mercato, the antiques dealer guy. This is where we're first introduced to the name Adrian Mercato. I think I recognise the name because it's the name used in the film Manhattan Baby, Rosemary's Baby. So it's a name that appears in Rosemary's Baby because it's a name associated with Satanists. I think it's Stephen Mercato and Adrian Mercato.
Manhattan Baby. I always thought, what a weird name for a film. But then I didn't get a connection that obviously was ripping off Rose's Baby because...
But there's no the film itself...
Exactly. The film itself couldn't be further away from Rosemary's Baby if it tried.
Apart from it referencing that name, I still don't see what the connection is. But we're introduced to this character, Adrian Mercato, who's an antiquity dealer and taxidermist. The taxidermist bit is relevant, isn't it, of course, at the end?
Yes, later on. Fucking hell, I'm a bit battered.
So we're introduced to Adrian Mercato, the antiquity dealer and taxidermist. He reads from a book. According to an Arab traveller in the 3rd century, this ancient jewel symbolises the eye of evil, the negative counterpart of Aleph, the principle of all being. Hamanumina. I like that. Hamanumina.
Abracadabra. Abracadabra. Abracadabra.
Almost in that. 50 minutes in, Emily's strolling down the road and a woman from a balcony throws a message down to her. This is the woman from the park who picked the photo up.
The one that with the photo and she throws it down to her, doesn't she?
Yeah, when Emily looks up again, there's the snake sound again. I think it's meant to add a bit to suggest something mysterious, but I think the woman's just basically wandered off. I don't know. She just wasn't there anymore. She's gone. Then Emily gets in her car and drives off, and then it pans up to show the building that she's been stood outside Mercado's antiques. So then you realise the woman who picked up the photo has got something to do with this Adrian Carter again. So it's all kind of linking together. If this film links together in any way, I don't fucking know.
To be honest, it links so well.
Emily gives the photo to George, so it goes back to George, and Robert, his associate, wants to take the photo to a lab. Why he wants to take the photo to a lab? Again, this same photo of the talisman. Emily says to George, I got the impression that Snake Woman knew the children.
Yeah.
Why? Why the fuck? What was to suggest that? All she'd done is thrown a message down to us. Fuck you, fuck everyone. They're at somebody else's place, and then they hear Tommy and Susie crying out. George and Emily understandably run around reacting to the fact they're crying, only to find nothing at all. There's a slow shot up and down some stairs of some toys, and then it just cuts away to a different scene.
Jesus Christ.
But then George says, where's Jamie Lee? The au pair's still missing. And Tommy says she's on her voyage. People going on a voyage.
By the way, I forget, does the au pair ever come back from a voyage?
Yes, she comes through the fucking wall, mate, doesn't she?
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry, yes, I have drawn that. That's Jamie Lee's hand that I've drawn. Carry on.
An hour in, Robert, George's associate, bear with me, the professor,
fucking is fire. All right, I'm going to start getting
he's examining the photo. He's examining the photo because he has to take it away, didn't he, to look at it. And he's in his office, and we again have a snake appearing low down. It's where it does this low down camera shot, replicating a kind of slinky movement of a snake.
Quite a lot of this.
Yes, it's kind of a snake angled shot. I thought it was all right. Then it attacks him. It's really weak scene again, though. It kind of just jumps at him.
Yeah, he foams at the mouth as it having a fit. But then he snakes away, which we didn't really need to see. We didn't need to see the camera snake away from him. But
the snake backs away because the camera backs away. I'm not sure snakes
he
back away.
Well, he backs away. And that's what snakes do after a bit.
The other slight all right bit when I watched it a second time is that when the snake attacks him, he doesn't make any noise. It's replaced by Susie, the daughter, waking up and screaming in bed. So he doesn't scream, she screams, which I think is all right. And as we see Robert's lifeless body on the floor, the photo that's lying by the side of him mysteriously disappears.
Habanumina.
The power of Habanumina, you see, again. Well, Susie's screaming and screaming in bed now, so this is where it's intensified. And actually, George is saying, Susie, relax. He's saying it very forcefully, though. You don't relax, do you? Susie, relax, please.
Because that's what you do. When you try and relax someone, Susie, relax, for fuck's sake, relax.
And as it turns out, mysteriously, the photo has now reappeared in Susie's hand. And George, the dad, grabs it out of his hand, turns it over, sees the name again, Adrian Mercato, and says to his wife, can you go down to your magazine and do a bit of rifling around and see if you can find out who this dude Mercato is? George asks Tommy about Susie's condition, and Tommy says, Susie always screams when she goes on one of her voyages. And he offers to show a souvenir from one of his voyages, and it turns out to be a bit of an Egyptian tat again. So that's when George realises that they're going to the same place. At this point, an hour in, George and Emily go to visit Mercato. I need a wee.
Abracadabra. Abracadabra.
Listen, an hour in, George and Emily go and visit Mercato at last.
Here we go. Come on. I'm now there. Oosh. Come on.
Go on then.
That was it.
Oh, right.
No, sorry. This one, it's all for this one line of dialogue. So I rewound it a lot. I was trying to work out whether this made sense or not. This is the introduction.
Oh, go on then.
So George Acker goes, are you Mercato? Fair enough question, isn't it?
Yes. Are you the person that's name's on the photo?
But Mercato, being the fucking absolute arsehole is, he goes, you didn't come here to ask about names.
Well, yes, it's very abrupt. listen, he's not a man that likes frivolous conversation.
But it's not even a frivolous comment. It's like going, are you Adam? You didn't come here to ask about it. No, but really, I just start the conversation. I need to know that.
I need to know if you're Makato because your name's on the photo.
Yeah.
I'm not here
that's the start
to
of it.
talk about names. Yeah, but I need to know.
Just, before we carry on, I need to know that as a basis for the rest of this conversation, you absolute twat. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I wrote.
Quite possible that Susie has absorbed energy radiated by a gem.
So this is what Makato says about the issue with the daughter and why she's in this tramp.
That's what taxidermists and
antiquity dealers,
they know about energy.
Your daughter is in great danger. That's a short meeting with him, but then they realise, and it's quite serious because she's under the influence of this, all the Egyptian craziness, and it's Fritzy time as they start to search around her room for the jewel.
It's what? It's Fritzy time.
Fritzy time, because the music's playing in the background, I noticed, as they were searching for the talisman. And they found it. It's being guarded by a click-clacking scorpion. Yeah, anyway, yeah, and they realise that Susie's in dire need of Mikato's help. Then call up Mikato, and he arrives at the apartment, and he examines Susie and then says, suspiciously,
leave me alone with her. Parents, you go away. And I just thought, what the fuck?
I think the way his makeup and the way he looks quite sinister, and he kind of, yeah, you wouldn't.
He doesn't explain why he wants to be left alone with her. He just says, leave me alone with her.
As the parents leave, he casts them a dodgy look as well. He kind of does a shifty look as well.
And he gets his plums out.
And then he gets the talisman out and rests it on her.
That's what I was saying.
Not rude. He doesn't plop it on her. He rests the talisman on her. So then she cries out, but when they run into the room, it's not this bit I really liked. So Susie's crying out, but when they get in the room,
that's wrong.
It's not Susie that's crying out. It's Mikato rolling around on the floor with Susie's voice crying out.
Oh, Jesus.
The bit I really liked was him crying with her voice, but his overacting I liked even more. And this is what I drew, which is him kind of on his face.
Well, he's kind of rubbing his face, isn't he? I don't know how to explain it. He's on the floor, He's on the floor and he's got the amulet and he's rubbing it on his face while he's foaming at the mouth. And you think, oh, that's a good 10 seconds. Oh, no, it's about a good 30 seconds of him doing the bastard.
It's grossly...
But it's good.
It's grossly overacted, isn't it? Well, it's beautifully overacted. I loved it. So that scene was brilliant.
Oh, I mean, that sounds wrong.
He's writhing around with a talisman.
We've all been there.
Amazingly, Mikato looks like he's on death's door, but he soon recovers. No, he says,
your daughter's a prisoner of this stone, using her as a medium for its overt, dark and wicked malefactions. And the stone can open a gate in time and space. Abracadabra. Abracadabra. Abracadabra.
Right, the key bit now, because Susie goes to hospital, and who is the doctor that presides over her while she's in hospital? It's Dr. Fulci, MD. His acting's layered, isn't it?
Yeah, he's been in most of his films, hasn't he? And he's terrible.
He's the Alfred Hitchcock of his time, isn't he? He just says things like, it's inexplicable. It's nice to see him, though, isn't it?
Nice to see him seem nice, yeah.
I mean, the bit to mention, I suppose, in amongst this, which you might want to talk about, is when he's back at his shop with the talisman, which is the film's drawing to an end. It has this bit with Tommy staring at a wall, and what does he say? This is all a bit weird.
Yeah.
I liked the way the wall became drenched in blood. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, it's not like drenched in blood. It's like it's squirting through.
It's almost like a fabric, isn't it? It's like a...
The young boy is saying, punish me, punish me. And then you see the blood coming through the wall. And the next thing you know, the au pair that you haven't seen for a while, if you weren't concentrating, you wouldn't know.
Bursts through the wall, yeah.
Pokes through. But you only know it's her arm because she's got a bracelet on, and it's a bit.
Yeah, I think Tommy says something. He kind of says something about Jamie Lee.
But it's a good again. Wait, it's a good scene.
Back in the hospital, Fulci, they've took some X-rays of Susie, and when they look at the X-rays, Susie's got what looks like a snake in her body as well.
It's got a snake in it. Fucking hell. Yeah.
Wild,
I mean, I
man.
wish you hadn't drawn me back. It's bullshit.
Makato, I think because Makato says that Susie's been a vessel for this stone, he's decided he's going to become that. And that's what he essentially does, isn't it? He kind of, the curse goes into him.
Yeah. So Makato's back at his shop.
It goes very quiet in it. I quite like the way it's done as well, because he's spotting things and there's noises being made.
Yeah.
And obviously he's a taxidermist. Let's go back to the fact that he stuffs a lot of birds.
And it's mainly birds, isn't it, as well?
One thing I'd have to say that's quite clever about this is to pick taxidermy is it doesn't matter if the birds don't look realistic. Essentially, they're meant to be the stuffed birds that are attacking him. So they look terrible, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they're flying and attacking him, which is what happens next, spoilers, because we're literally going to tell you. Yeah, it doesn't matter that they look incredibly fake and like puppets.
They kill.
Yeah. Generally, then the dead birds all attack him and start pulling bits. And this is where it gets really gory, I think. They peck his eyes, peck his face, you know.
We get a bit of Fulci, don't we? So at last we get a little bit of gore.
You can't go wrong with a bit of Fulci.
No, absolutely. And in that respect, it's quite enjoyable, because I think the scene itself's all right, the way it's done. Yeah.
It goes on quite a lot. It's a long time, actually. That last bit is, they're chomping and pulling away, and they keep going and coming back, going. It's good 3 or 4 minutes, I think, probably. But yeah, it's okay. And then he gets killed. But I guess you don't really get where it's going next, except for the terrible loop around bit, which you can elaborate.
I suppose we should say, off the back of him becoming the vessel and then getting killed, Susie recovers. I suppose we should say that bit. She gets better, the young girl. And then it ultimately goes back to Egypt, and we see the whole story being retold as another young girl.
Yeah, another young girl with an old crown.
The same crown, and she's being handed another talisman. The thing that Makato says to George, get rid of the talisman, and George throws it off a bridge to get rid of it.
Chucks it into the water, but that makes no fucking odds because...
And then it goes back to Egypt, being handed on to another young girl. And that is the end of Manhattan Baby.
Let's rate this track. Let's rate it.
I'm gonna tell you what I put. Crazy story. Awful saxophone music. I mean, the thing is, with a film by somebody like Argento, what you've got is you've got a bit of style every so often if the story's not making that much sense. What you normally have with Fulci when the story's not making sense is you have some good gore every so often. This doesn't have that. So I found it a bit of a struggle making it all the way through at times.
No.
As usual, there's bits in it I quite like. It's all over the place. Some bits don't get explained at all. It makes no sense. However, bits I liked, a lot of it I didn't. So I'm going to have to give it. What it needed is, I'm going to say it again, I've said it all the way through, it needed loads more gore. It needed more gory deaths. There was loads of opportunities in the deaths to have something that was a bit more interesting. It didn't, and that's where it was quite a big letdown. And I think that's the bit where I'd have to probably give it about 5 for me. The odd bit I liked, but it wasn't enough to save the film overall. So I just give it a very middle of the road 5, because I like Fulci in general, but it's one of his worst ones, and that is it. Oosh.
Oosh.
I wasn't expecting
5.
that.
I didn't expect that. I thought you'd enjoyed it more. For some reason, gore or not. So, I mean, I like gore, but I like weird stuff better,
That's good.
I guess. I don't know. For some reason, I quite like this. I'm not a massive Fulci fan. I like his films.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
It's a strange one, this. To be honest, I've written down 2 things here, actually, because I quite liked it.
That's good. That's all right.
6.5. I give it 6.5 because it surprised me how much I enjoyed it. It's not a gory one, but yeah, I probably would watch it.
Yeah.
Generally, I was pleasantly surprised how I enjoyed this, even though it wasn't that gory, except for the end and other bits. Bollocks to it. I liked it because it was fucking mental.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was a crazy, yeah.
If anyone's been listening to any of these podcasts, would know that I just like something I've never seen before.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So it gets an extra 1 or 2 points just because of that. Yeah, it'll do. 6.5. I mean, what do you want?
What do you want? No, it's good. So that's Manhattan Baby.
That's Manhattan Baby from 1982. On Twitter, direct message us.
Yeah, send us a message. We'd appreciate it.
Seriously, we're probably running out of films we have a clue about.
If anybody's got a recommendation, and then we can kind of review it and see if we agree with you, yeah, let us know.
Other than that, thanks for listening.
Thanks very much. Bye.